now. Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Ward. I am one of the counselors in the Office of Admission at Providence College and excited to welcome you all to tonight's webinar on undeclared advising at Providence. I am joined by Peter Palumbo, who is one of my absolute favorite people on campus and the Director of Academic Advising. And he is going to give you that insider's information on what it means to be undeclared, the process of declaring your major, and all of the support systems that come along the way. As a PC alumna myself, I did start at Providence as an undeclared student too. So if we have any parents or guardians on the other side of the screen tonight, I promise it does work out. I graduated in 4 years, completing everything that I wanted and happily employed at this point. So it all does work out in the end. But Peter, you are the main star of the show, so I will turn it over to you. But students, as you have questions throughout tonight's webinar, send them through the Q&A section or Q&A feature, and we will get those answered throughout tonight's session. Without further ado.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Welcome, everybody. I hope you're having a good night. I look forward to sharing more information about our programs. As Liz said, my name is Peter Palumbo. I am the Associate Dean of Student Academic Success in our Student Success Center, the Director of Academic Advising, and I also oversee the Undeclared Advising Program. What I want to do is just give you a broad overview of the academic advising process for all students, and then I want to provide some detailed information for you about the Undeclared program. What I want to remind you of, though, is breathe. I understand how stressful this process is, and I want you to make me earn my paycheck. I want you to ask me questions. I want you to, whatever information I can provide that make you learn more about Providence College and whether or not what we offer, how we offer it aligns with your individual goals and needs as a college student. Because as a first generation college student myself, I remember how intimidating this whole process was and how sometimes there was some institutional language that made it difficult for me to understand various processes. So whatever I can do to help make you feel more at ease about what we offer and whether or not, again, it aligns with your academic goals and academic planning options, this is your time. Please feel free to ask me those questions. So first and foremost, Providence College has a few different levels of academic advising. We have general academic advising support that's offered in the Student Success Center that's available for all students. That's where you can go if you have general questions and you just don't know where to start. That maybe you possibly want a double major, a minor, you don't understand some processes. You can come to the Success Center and we would get you connected to those folks that can answer your questions. So pre-law, pre-health, if you want to, take a foreign language that maybe we don't offer, we know all of the academic policy deep cuts, if you will. But more importantly, you'll all have an academic advisor. That would be your point person on campus. The majority of our advisors are faculty. We do have some professional advisors as well. It really just depends on your program. In some of our programs, they start out with more prescriptive semesters. So with the School of Nursing Health Sciences, so health science majors, health policy and management majors, they start with a professional advisor that helps you navigate your first year, and then you transition into a faculty advisor, a specialist in your field. The same is true with the School of Business. In their first 2 semesters, you'd be working with a professional advisor, someone that helps you navigate the common business core curriculum, the introductory classes in your major. And then as you start to better identify what you want to do in your field, start talking about internships, co-ops, study abroad, you would be working with a faculty advisor who really starts to transition into a bit of an academic mentor as well, helping you identify all those different aspects of your academic career that you want to start to pursue. Before I get ahead of myself, though, I also want to acknowledge that many of you, 17, 16, 18 years old, 20 years old, maybe don't know what you want to do. So I do want to kind of give you some insight in how to navigate the academic advising process. This goes off better when I'm in a group session when I can see you, but I like to engage the audience and ask them how many of you want to study abroad? And I have a lot of students and their parents start, yes, exactly, listing different places they want to go. I say, how many of you maybe want to double major? And they start rattling off the various double majors they want to do, or maybe do a minor. Minors are about 6 to 7 classes, and we offer them in various major areas as well. Have a foreign language? How many of you want to get involved in faculty-led research? Get internships, do co-ops, take a fun class that maybe they haven't had a chance to explore before in their high school curriculum. And I get people starting rattling stuff off and people get engaged because I really ultimately want you to get excited about your academic plans. But then I pause and remind them, we don't know that. We don't know that you want to double major. We don't know that you want to get an internship, which I recommend you all get at least one before you graduate college. I would shoot for two. We don't know that you want to get a foreign language, that you want to do a minor. We don't know those areas that academically you excel in, and maybe some areas that you need some support in. That's where your advisor comes in. You need to be proactive and start to share that information with your academic advisor, whatever your major is, so we can best support you with the academic planning process. Really, to conceptualize it is, our job is to help you connect the dots. You have to give us dots, though. So even if it's not very fleshed out, if you say, I want to study abroad, maybe, but I don't know where I want to go. Great. We could talk to you about that and talk to you about the fact that most majors study abroad in their junior year, although we do have a lot of Maymester options where students go over the summer potentially. You might say, I want to get an internship possibly where I'm helping families, or I don't know, I just want to make sure that it's something where I'm working in groups. Whatever that might be, the more information you start to share with your advisor when you're in college, the better we can do to support you. So I know you probably didn't expect homework at 6:40 on a Wednesday afternoon after you've been in school or working or wherever you were today. But the homework I would give you is think of what is your bucket list? What are those things that you want out of your college experience? And as again, as a first generation college student, I'm well aware of how expensive this commitment is. It's a great return on your investment, but it is something that price tag will help motivate you to start to think of what do I want? I always push to my students, I want you to be that student that when you're with your friends, you won't shut up about what you want to do. They're like, Pete, stop talking about your homework that you're enjoying or that group project that you're really excited about. Like, I want that passion for my students and the students that I work with at PC. But unfortunately, some students don't have that passion because they really don't really think about what they want. So that's the role of your advisor. Your advisor in your academic department would help support you, but you would have to come to them with some questions, with some goals, really specific, very broad, whatever it is, the more you do, the more proactive you are, the more that your academic advisor can help you. And you would have your advisor, once you are transitioned into your faculty advisor, you would have them until you graduate. Some students have two advisors if they're a double major, so they do have additional resources that would talk about their various fields that they're in. They would help them navigate our core curriculum. Every school has a core curriculum. Being a liberal arts institution, your advisor will help you with the liberal arts components of the PC curriculum, things like development of Western civilization, which is the heart of our curriculum, our oral communication requirements, our writing requirements, natural science, philosophy, theology, ethics, social science. We have a good wide array of core curriculum courses. These are the things that will help you pivot in your future career to give you transferable skills that work for many jobs and also some jobs that don't yet exist. And your faculty member, the more you share with them the things you like, they would help you navigate the core curriculum. So again, it's a meaningful experience for you and you're not just checking off boxes. So that would be the role of your advisor. And again, you would have an advisor in your program that you could reach out to, you could meet with. You must meet with your advisor at least once a semester. But as the director of advising, that's not enough for me. I really like when students meet with their advisor three, four times, really get to know them. And so the advisor gets to know them as well, know you as well, so they can make more personalized recommendations for you. Regarding our undeclared program, all these same things hold true, but undeclared, not to brag, is the second largest major coming in. Finance just beat us out last year. So we're roughly 15% of the population of the incoming class. As Liz mentioned, the undeclared program, those students still do all the other things declared majors do. They just take a little time weighing their options. So undeclared majors go to law school, they go to medical school, they go to graduate school. They get internships, they study abroad, but many of them do it with a keener sense of this is what I like. I sampled some things. I thought I might like major X, but then it wasn't really what I thought it was going to be, and I decided upon major Y after some research. There are some unique differences of the undeclared advising program. Full disclosure, I am biased, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'm very proud of how we structure our undeclared advising program, and also the data shows us that students in the undeclared program actually are declaring a major sooner, usually before the end of their first year, based on a lot of the resources they receive to learn more about the majors and programs we offer. Um, so the biggest difference of the undeclared program, as I mentioned, if you're a declared major, you get an advisor that you'll meet with two, three, four times a semester, and that would be your point person. In the undeclared program, you would be taking exploratory classes. You would take Development of Western Civilization, which every major does in their first 4 semesters. But you would be exploring possible areas of interest. The super unique difference about the undeclared program is it's highly recommended, and the majority of our students do it. You take a 1 credit, which means it meets for 1 hour a week, first year experience class called Intro to Providence College. This class has been around for about 6 years now, and it is taught by your academic advisor. So we have various faculty in the School of Arts and Sciences volunteer to be undeclared advisors. So they teach this class, and by being in this class, that person that you see weekly is your advisor. So as I mentioned before, most students see their advisor 2, 3, hopefully more than that each semester. As an undeclared major in your first semester, you're meeting with your advisor 14 times at the very least, because you will see them weekly. You'll go to class, they'll get to know you. And even when you declare a major and you get a new advisor in your program, so again, if you switch to bio, business, whatever, you would have a new faculty, a new advisor in that program. The undeclared advisor doesn't just go away. They are still a resource for you. Many times that they'll write recommendations for students. There'll be a secondary connection to them of someone that got to see them during a tumultuous first semester as they're navigating a lot of the newness of college life and got to know them and can be a resource for them in the future. So it really is an opportunity to develop those relationships with multiple folks that can help you navigate your academic options and really make sure that this is a meaningful process for you. Um, so again, I mentioned that it is highly recommended. It's not required, but we do see that students that take this class, the data is showing us that they are using a lot more of our resources. They're more aware of things like study abroad and the Career Center early on because those things are blended into that first year experience class. Um, so again, I shared that I'm biased, but it is something you will see if you're looking at other schools. They do have first year experience programs. I've been doing this for 20 years. I actually took a first year experience class as an undergraduate when I was in college. I didn't go to PC. Don't hold that against me. But that's something that the data shows that those courses do really help students with their transition because although it's taught by your advisor, the subject matter is you. So you would have to go to our major minor fair and write a paper about your experience through that. It would help you with the transition of the workload and how it does get ramped up from high school to college and how to navigate that. It brings in supplemental resources. So sometimes they'll have faculty will bring in members of other departments or other resources to really highlight some areas of support for students. So our tutoring center, our writing center, our academic supports, which are all housed in our Student Success Center on the second floor of our library. So it really gives students a direct contact with information that students identify, I should go to a tutor, but it reduces the ambiguity because they have that resource provided right to them through that course. Um, so I just want to see and make sure I see one question here. Um, outside of business school. So that's a great question. So what sort of reasons cause people to pursue business kind of classes outside of the business school rather than in the business school? So excellent. So so the one thing I remind students is while if you want to major in business, if you want to go into business, you can major in business, and many students do, but it's not as linear as you think. We have a lot of students that might major in psychology or history, and then they minor in business and get an internship in business and go on into business. Your major does not dictate your future. And I have many students that say, I love English. I love writing. I love reading. I love everything about it, but I don't want to be an English teacher. And I say, get comfortable because you know what English turns into? Lots of stuff. Lawyers are English majors. Actually, some of the exceptional lawyers are English majors because to be a lawyer, you have to be able to analyze dense text and formulate arguments, all of those skills you get in English. Um, that you could go into business. You can get an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration with a English major. You would just maybe need some prerequisite courses to get an MBA. And so it's not so much what you major in, it's how well you do and how you connect those other pieces to it to really make it more specific to your area of interest. One of the things I love about PC as someone in my role is that if you wish to change your major, it's very easy to do so. So undeclared majors have until February of their sophomore year, so roughly 3 semesters and change for them to declare. That's the deadline. But please note that some schools, to change your major, you get accepted into a college of XYZ at a school, and it's very difficult to move. At PC, it's really easy to navigate those. There are some exceptions though. So School of Nursing is a direct admit program. The business school, once you come to campus, you do have to go to a declaration session. A declaration session is a workshop where you learn more about what business is and what it is not because sometimes we find that students think that business is many different things, but they don't realize how our business school, with our high level of accreditation, has a lot of analytics and math built into it. And while that's great, it might not be a good fit for all students if that's not something that they enjoy. So that declaration session informs them of what business is like. And then if they like it, they can declare. If they don't, they can have a different major. The business school also has, after your first semester, you have a 2.5 to be able to get into the business school, to switch out of something else and go into business. So not to get into the weeds, but just something to be aware of. For the vast majority of other majors, it's very easy to navigate switching in between programs, declaring a double major and a minor. Again, it's just a matter of talking to your advisor, talking to folks like myself in the Student Success Center, and making sure you get that specific contact of if you're interested in this major, here's the department chair you can talk to. Here's how to schedule an appointment. We really try to remove a lot of the administrative processes to make it a comfortable opportunity for you to get to talk to folks about something that they're very passionate about and see if it aligns with your interest and goals. Um,
That's awesome.
so that was a long-winded answer to your question about business, but you really can like business is great. It's about 40% of our population right now, but it is some students really love it. Other students think they like the idea of it, and more they get exposed to it, it might not be a good fit for them.
Yeah,
I
which I'm
do
just gonna
see, yeah,
then, there was another one about business, sorry, Peter,
yeah.
yes, business undeclared is not an option at Providence. So to the students asking those types of questions, you do have to select one of the 4 programs, accounting, finance, marketing, or management. It's okay to not know which one specifically, but you do technically have to pick one. You are not being reviewed differently if you pick finance versus management. The admission review process is the exact the same as it would have been if you were an English major. So it's okay to not be fully confident in the one you chose. It just means that you're starting in that specific program's curriculum your first semester. But as Peter mentioned, the school of business kind of takes a lot of the similar courses those first year and a half.
Mhm.
So you're fine either way.
Yeah. I got a lot of good questions here. Thank you. This is great. I love when I get questions. So how many students in the first year experience class? So we had out of roughly 1,200 students for this past fall, we had 196 undeclared majors come in. And so that's a little over 15% of the incoming population are undeclared. Um, another question was if you are not undeclared, can you still take Intro to Providence College? Yes, you can. And we love when there's declared majors in there as well because a lot of folks need a little additional support navigating resources, getting connected, kind of demystifying the college experience. And that's a great opportunity to do that through a comfortable 1 credit course that doesn't really add too much of a extra work burden on there. The question was, additionally, do you find that most undeclared freshmen wait until their sophomore year to decide about their major, or do they make the decision sooner? It depends. I mean, it is each undeclared major is so different. I have undeclared majors saying, I don't know what I want to do, and then they start rattling off 3 areas that they're leaning towards. I have some students that they don't know what they like, and I ask them what they dislike, and they start taking down buildings left and right. I have some students that tell me they're undeclared, but they say they're 99% certain they're going to be a biology major. I know biology majors that aren't 99% certain they're going to be biology. So it's such a wide array that that's where we tag in and start to work students through this process of figuring out what they like and whether or not it makes sense for them. But it really just kind of depends on the student's needs and experiences. There is a question here about teachers holding extra help and how long does the extra help usually last? So every faculty offers office hours. So that is an undeclared advisor, or it's just the professors that are teaching your courses. They will have those hours set aside every week where a student can talk to them about any material. And then in addition to that, we have tutoring and the Writing Center and supplemental academic skills support in the Student Success Center. Um, Ooh, great. More questions. Is it possible to study abroad if you wait until the deadline to declare your major? Yes, because we have a lot. I actually have approved students to go abroad. You have to, December of your sophomore year is that application deadline for study abroad. Study abroad is a 2.75 GPA requirement. Not to bombard you with too much information, but you're all asking great questions. Um, in that instance, you can still apply to go abroad undeclared, but you'd have to declare a major by the time you go, just because that's junior year. So we'd want to make sure that it's a meaningful experience where you're completing core requirements to still keep you on track for the 4-year graduation rate.
If it
Um,
helps, that was me.
yeah,
I took pretty much until the deadline to decide and still went abroad twice, so it works out.
yeah. No, that's great. Um, How do professors and advisors work with undeclared students to make sure they still feel part of the academic major community even before declaring a major? Great question. Through the classes they take. Because in the classes, it's kind of like you're going to their house. So if you're taking a sociology class, you're likely in there with other sociology majors. So you get a taste of whether or not this is comfortable for you. So in addition to the content, you get that exposure to others in your major, others in your potential major, professors there, and you could still go to workshops and speak with your professor in office hours. Like there's a lot of opportunities to demystify those programs and make you feel more a part of that experience. Um, there was a question, you think it's better to go undecided if you're not totally sure? I guess it depends. Something I want to show with you real quick is so this would help you if yeah, perfect. So this is our academic advising webpage. I think, I'm biased again. I think it's one of the best web pages on the PC website. One of the most helpful resources for undeclared students is our academic guidebook. So the academic guidebook, I don't know about you all, I love a good list. This has 4-year plans for every single major we offer. So you could see if you're going to be a marketing major. Let's see if I can marketing major, it shows you a semester by semester breakdown of the courses you need. Because really the question is, is it a good idea to go in undeclared or not? I think what you need is more information. The more information you receive, the more comfortable you'll feel with your options. And you might identify some stuff on here that you say, I don't know if I like that. Or this looks great. Buyer behavior. I get to do an intro to stats class. Like this might get you excited for a lot of the programs. So again, this is another resource because as an undeclared major or even as a prospective college student, the more information, the better you'll feel about your options, whether or not PC fits, whether or not certain majors fit with your overall academic goals. Um, Question about are there certain majors that do not usually work with doing a semester abroad? You can go abroad with any of our majors. There are some additional challenges where in certain programs they can do a Maymester program. There's also things that can take it into account if you have AP credits that will come over to us. That sometimes makes it easier in programs that are very sequential. You could actually see what we accept for our AP, not to get into the weeds, but we're already there, our AP equivalency chart that shows you what grades we accept and what they come over as. So as core requirements or specific courses. Because I'm always surprised at how some of you have 6 or 7 AP classes, and I'm like, when do you sleep? That's so impressive. A lot of the profile our students have with AP credits. One question about if I'm undeclared, then decide to major in secondary education math, do you need to declare a major anytime sooner? In some majors, like education, you need to declare by the end of your first year, just because of how sequential those programs are. In other majors, So an example would be something in STEM, something that is extremely linear, that you need prerequisite courses in chemistry and bio and calculus and so on and so forth. The sooner you declare, in some instances, the better, just because you want to make sure that you are sequencing appropriately in those courses. However, you don't technically need to declare, you just need to take those courses. So if you think you're going to be a biochemistry or a chemistry major, you could be taking chemistry courses, calculus courses while you're still making a decision. But you don't want to wake up in your sophomore year and say, I think I'm going to major in chemistry and have never taken a chemistry course. That's going to be problematic. So again, the more vocal you are, the more questions you ask about this is what I'm leaning towards. Does this make sense? The better we can help you make sure that you leave multiple options open. I got
This
another
is going to
question. This
be
is
our
great.
last question tonight.
Yes. So how many first year classes are considered core classes versus one you select based on interest? Good question. It depends. If you're potentially a psychology, if you're leaning towards psych and history, let's say, you could take an intro psych, a history course, and those could count towards your core requirements because psychology is a social science and history could be an oral communication or diversity core. So that is something that you would learn about during our first day in Friartown program. You can also see some of that in the 4 year plans that I showed you. And again, that is on the academic advising page in our academic guidebook. I highly recommend you peruse it. It really does give you some good information to make your decisions. So I know we're short on time. So thank you so much for your time. Please make sure you use our resources. You could reach out to us. You can email advising at providence.edu. Whatever we can do to help you as you make your decisions, we'll gladly do so.
Thank you as always, Peter. Wonderful
Of
session.
course.
Students, if you
You're
need
welcome.
any additional resources or support in anything, don't hesitate to reach out. But this recording will be shared with you all, and we'll share those links to the academic guidebook for everyone as well. But hope you all have a great evening. Thanks and good night.
Thank you.